So now we'll create a program to read the application server file into ABAP internal table. So once we are able to read the file into internal table, you can use that data for different purpose. Like you can display it as ALV report, or you can create the data in SAP using some BAPI function modules, or you can use that for a BDC program, right? You can create a BDC program to read that file and to run the BDC steps, right? So earlier we provided input as Excel file, right, for BDC program or text file, right? Now you can take application server file as input to execute the BDC program. Okay, so it will execute automatically. You don't need to manually execute, manually upload the file and run the BDC program, right? To create the data in SAP transactions or SAP tables. You can also download it as a local file by using GUI download function module, right? So today we'll just read the file into internal table. So what is the statement to read the file into internal table? Open dataset is the syntax for to read the internal application server file. What do we need to use? Is it output or input? We need to use input in text mode. And then to read the data, what is the statement we need to use? Once the application server file is opened, we need to use read dataset. Read dataset, the dataset name into some work area. Okay, this work area should be compatible to the file. So the what are the fields available in the file? The work area also should contain same fields in the same order. Okay, here we can work with different files like comma separated files, tab separated files. Okay, and then we close the data set. What is the prerequisite to read the application server file? The file should be available in the directory. Okay, now let's create a program. So select your package in projects, use a proper package name and assign it to transport request. Now you know how to design the selection script. Here, what is this? It's like change log text. You can say that you can take it as a change log text. You need to mention the program details and the transaction code, whatever you created for this program, right? And who created it and what is the initial transport request and everything you will mention here. Going forward, whenever there is new changes, you're going to add the changes in the change log. Okay. To read the application server file, what is the input for us? What is the input for this program to read the application server file? Since we are creating data in application server, in a previous program, we have taken some customer number as input and we selected the data and created the file in application server. Now to read the application server file, what is the input? File name, right? File name is the input for application server file, right? For that, we'll create a parameter to enter the file name with the begin of block with frame. I'm not using title. P underscore file type. I'll take it as local file. What is that date? What is this data element? Char 128. Okay. Now I'll make it obligatory. So mandatory. Okay. Now start of selection. What we need to do? We need to write the logic to read the application server file. What is the statement to open the application server file? What is the statement to open the application server file? Open
Open data set.
data
Open
set
data sets,
and
file
the
name.
data set name, that nothing but file name. Then in
In
text mode
text encoding the
for input or
output.
output? For input or for output?
Input.
For input, because we are reading the file. For input,
Yeah.
for creating the file, for output. Since we are using text mode, encoding is required. Encoding default. If the specified file, whatever the file we are providing, is available in the application server, then subrc will be 0. If whatever the file you are passing is not available, what will be the subrc? That will be not equal to 0. Okay. And if it is 0, close data set and the data set name, that is v underscore file. In between open data set and close data set, we have to read that file. Okay. Clear? First let me test this. I'm keeping a breakpoint here. I'm providing the file name called I don't know is this file is available or not. Let me try. Subrc equal to 8. That means that file may not be available in application server. Let me check what are all the available files. Go to A11. We are not passing the path, complete path, so that it will always check for default directory. I'll sort it. Okay, looks like we scheduled our program for every 2 minutes, right?
Yes, sir.
Yesterday, it is creating thousands of files, maybe hundreds of files.
Sir, even though if the process is not completed, again it will start, sir.
It will start. So next time, next schedule time, the program will start. So you mean, okay. So once the first job will completed, if you, okay, for example, you scheduled the program for every 2 minutes, and the program is still executing due to some large data, and again one more instance will start. So you should not do that because it will overload the system, and no jobs or no programs will be completed. Everything will be on in progress status.
Okay.
You should make sure that you should give some time, okay, time interval, sufficient time interval to complete the program, right? There is no meaning in running program in parallel, right? Same job in parallel with the same data. Anyway, we'll cancel that job after completing the program for now. So we'll take one file. So we'll take this file, Control Y, and copy this, enter the file name, execute. Now subrc equal to 0 because that file is available in application server directory, default directory. Okay. Now we are able to open the file, but to transfer the data into internal table, what we need? We need one work area and internal table, right? So that define one work area and internal table. What is the file structure? We need to define that internal table and work area same as this file structure. This is the file structure, right? Yesterday we defined for that sales data. We have to define in the same format. We have to create a type structure in the same format. I am copying from yesterday's program, right? When we are receiving the file data, that file data should be in this format. Then I'll define work internal table and work area for this.
Sir, work area underscore sales data or data, sir.
That is just a naming convention, right? You can take any name. Okay. If you want
Uh,
sales data, you can take it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
So it's not going to change the program logic. How the program will execute, the program execution is not going to be changed as per changing the names. Okay. Just for
Okay.
naming convention. Okay.
Okay.
But as you said, we should follow proper naming conventions. Okay. Now,
Okay.
now I've defined one work area and internal table. Now, how to read the data once the file is opened, and how to read the data. For that, what is the statement we need to use?
Read data set.
Read dataset. Read dataset, and the dataset name, nothing but file name, and then
Into work area
into
underscore sales data.
Okay. Now, if read is successful, if sy hyphen equal to 0, that means if it is able to read a record, then append to it underscore sales data and clear work area. If it is failed, sub RC equal to not sub RC is not equal to 0, at the read statement, after the read statement, if sub RC equal to 0 and we are it is able to select one record into work area and we are appending that record to internal table. If sub RC equal is not equal to 0, then what does that mean? That means else. What does that mean? Read statement is failed. There is no record to read. There is no record to read. Then what we need to do? Exit. Why we are using exit? Because do we need to read only single record or multiple records? One file, is that file contains only single record or multiple records? Multiple records, and we don't know what are the number of records available in the file, right? For that process to read every record, what we need to do, we need to repeat this read statement, right, for each record, because read statement will read only one record at a time from file to work area, right? But we need every record. For that, what we need to do, we need to repeat this process. How can you repeat this process? How can you repeat these statements?
Loop by using
Which one?
Concurrent.
by using loop.
Loop. So tell me what I need to write. Loop. What I need to loop here? Do I have any internal table here with some data? Is there any internal table with some data here in this program? So we can only loop the internal tables, right? And that internal table should contain some data to loop it. Here, we don't have an internal table and we don't have any data in it. This internal table is empty. IT underscore sales data, it's an empty internal table. We have to add records here, right? Which internal table you are going to loop here? Now tell me, what is the alternative to repeat this process? How can you do this? Tell me, how can you do this?
Move cuts corresponding.
We do and do. Now, this read dataset statement will repeat for n number of times, right? Am I specifying any number here? Do 10 times. If there are only 10 records, if I know that every time there will be only 10 records available in the file, I can do this, do 10 times. But I don't know, right, how many records in the file. There might be 1000 records also, I am not sure. For that reason, I am not using times, how many times this should repeat. What is do? What is do loop? Do loop will repeat, right, for given number of times. Yes or no?
Sir.
Now we are not passing any number, so it is n number of times. It will repeat forever, right? It will repeat forever. So it's an infinite loop. I can say it's an infinite loop. I'm not providing any number. So it will repeat for n times. Now I am reading record one by one into work area, and if sub RC equal to 0, and I'm appending it to internal table. This process will repeat. Next time, second record will read from the file and placed in work area and append it to internal table. Next time, third record. Next time, fourth record. Once all the records are completed, next time it will try to read a record from the file. If that record is not available, what will be the sub RC? What will be the sub RC? Not equal to 0, right? Once
Not
all
equal.
the records are completed and it's still trying to read a next record, then sub RC will be not equal to 0. Then what we are doing here? Exit. What the exit statement will do, it will terminate the loop process. If you don't use else part and exit, what will happen? If you don't use these two statements inside this do loop, what
It
will
will
happen?
read again. It
It
will
will execute for n number of times.
n number of times.
Infinite loop, right? Once the data selection is failed, if sub RC is not equal to 0, then exit the loop process. Okay? Continue, exit. We have one more statement, continue. We use this in loop statements. What continue will do? Continue will skip the current record and proceed with the next available record. Right? When you use this in loop and end loop, you can also use this in do loop also. What is exit? When you use exit in do loop or loop end loop, it will terminate the loop process. It will come out of the loop. Okay? So this is an important interview question. How can you exit the loop? By using exit statement. How can you skip the current record processing within the loop?
You continue.
Using continue. Is everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
Sir, there we need to use the file name. Event.
So this type structure should be same as a file structure. How can you know what is the file structure? You should ask some sample file format. You can ask your functional consultant or your lead someone about what is the sample file format, or you can check that in AL11 application server. Okay. Then you have to design your type structure according to the file. For example, if your file is like this, SO number, I'm not typing the values, I'm typing the fields so that you can easily identify. SO item material. Now, for example, if your file contains these fields, you have to design your type structure according to these fields. First one is sales order number, item number, material, and material text. You have to create a type structure with these fields. Okay. Here our file structure is different. That's why we are using all these fields. Now let's test the program. Activate the program. I'll keep a break. I'll keep a breakpoint at open dataset. And I'll pass the file name. Let me find one proper file name from application server. Let's take this, execute. I'll check the subrc values. Subrc is successful. Subrc is successful. So file is opened. Then it will enter into do loop. Subrc equal to 0. What is the data available in work area? Sales order number, material number, this data, right? First record, sales order number 7, item 10. Appended to internal table. Next time do loop will repeat. Subrc 0. Now what is the next time? Sales order number 11, item number 10. So second record is being populated to internal table. Like this, the process will continue for how many times? Depends on number of records available in the file. Observe the tabix. Tabix tracks the loop count. How many records processed inside the loop, right? I think there are 13 records, as I remember. So it will execute for 13 times maybe. Let me check. It is still appending. It is processing 13th record. Subrc is 4. Then came out of the loop because exit statement is executed. Since subrc equal to 4, display the output, right? Once you got the data, you can use this data for any functionality. For example, loop at it underscore sales
Sir, loops.
using loop. Here you might call BDC programming steps, right? To execute, or you can call a BAPI to update the sales order data, or you can execute any functionality, or you can display it in the form of ALV report. You can do anything with this data, right? So as of now, we got some input data. So by using this data, you can achieve the functionality according to the program requirement. Okay, you know how to write a BDC program, and you know how to write a BAPI, you know how to write a different statements, right? By using all those functionalities, depends on your requirement, you can create the further logic which we implemented in the previous programs. Okay, but what is the difference here? Earlier we have taken local file, Excel file or notepad file, which is available in the local system as input. Now we are taking application server file as input. Okay, so that we can schedule this in background. We can schedule this program in background so that it will automatically every day it will select that application server file and it will execute the functionality. There is no manual interaction here, right? Clear? But if it is a local file, someone should manually execute the program, selecting the file from a local folder and need to execute. Yes. So this is also a file interface. What kind of interface it is? Outbound or inbound? This is inbound scenario. This is inbound scenario because we are reading the file from application server and posting the data to SAP. Yes. This is inbound file interface. Yesterday, we created a program for outbound. Okay. To post the file to application server. Today, we are reading the file from application server. Clear? So for file selection, right, to read the file, file selection is important, right? Let's try to add some F4 help, just like how we added F4 help for local file selection. We'll also try to add F4 help to select the application server folder. Okay, to select the application server folder and the file. We'll try to add one F4 help so that we should be able to select files in application server directory. So instead of manually manually providing the file name here, so we'll try to select, we'll add some F4 help here so that we should be able to select the file name from application server directory. How to add F4 help? What is the event we need to add for dynamic F4 helps?
Exception screen on value request.
It's a screen on value request for which field? P underscore file. Don't remember the function module. Go to pattern.
For underscore file name.
F4 underscore file name is for local files, right? Files in your laptop. It will select those folders. Now we are trying to select application server folders, not the local folders. Okay. For that, we have a separate function module. Let me F4. In the meantime, you can check in Google also what is the function module. F4 file for server directory. It is in German, but it seems F4 help functions. Let's try this. LSM F4 server file. Everything is optional and what we need to pass. What is the type of this server file? Import, export, nothing. There is no type. So pass this file name. Export, I'm commenting because we are not passing any inputs. Let's test this. Now we got F4 help, but we need to find is it going to work or not. I'm clicking on F4. Now the function module will execute. F6. What are these? application server folders, right? Let me go to AL11. In which directory we are in? dir home, default directory. What is the path for default directory? This one, usr sap d24 work. This is the path, right, for the default directory, and we have files here in this directory. Now let's find our usr, this one, right? usr, what is the next path? sap, what is the next folder? Within the sap we have another folder, that is a4h, and within the a4h we have another folder, that is d21. So within this folder work, we have another folder, that is work. So here we have all the files available, correct? Now select your file name. Daily sales, select any file. Now your file contains the application server directory. So this is how, see, we are not passing this directory, right? Earlier we are just passing the file name. By default it will search for this file in this directory by default. If you want to pass the different directory, if you want to pass a different directory, you need to pass the complete path, okay, in the input. Now let's try our program is working or not. F6. So it is populated this is the directory address for this file. So now execute. It is displaying the output. That means I think we did not keep the breakpoint. That means we are able to select the file, and the program is executed successfully, right? So this is how you can select the you can add the F4 help for application server directory. This is the function module, LMS F4 server file. So it will return the file path as output. If you want to select the different path, like what is this dir home? This is the default directory. To select the file from default directory or to create the file in default directory, you don't need to provide the complete path. It will sorry, it will automatically detects this default directory path, and it will create the file inside this. But if you want to create file in different directory, you need to pass the complete path. Okay, for example, take this dirgen or dir data. If you need to create the file in this directory, what you need to do? You need to pass this directory address. Okay, clear? For example, select. If you want to read a file from different directory, you don't need to see. If you just pass the file name, it is not going to read, because it is always check for dir home. If you just pass the file name, but when you need file from different directory, what you need to do? You need to select usr sap a4h d21 data. Instead of work, select data. So usr sap a4h d21. So instead of work, I am selecting data. The files inside the data folder I'm going to read. Select the file. So it will read file from the particular directory, right? To read file from different directory, we need to provide the complete path. Please remember. Okay. So you can use this function module both to create application server file or to read the application server file, right? If you don't want to create the file in default directory, and if you want to create the file in any specific directory, what you need to do? You need to select that specific directory path. and you need to add the file name. Then only it will create that file name in the different directory. If you just pass the file name, it will create in a default directory. Clear? Is it clear for everyone? So the assignment for tomorrow. So everyone created BDC programs, right? Earlier using Excel file upload or text file using BAPI or BDC. Everyone created those programs, right? To create some material data. Yes? No one is responding.
So this program, sir, inbound.
BDC programming, MM01, call transaction, session method, and BAPI calls.
Yes, yes, sir.
We have worked on those programs, right? To create data in SAP by
Yes, sir.
taking a notepad file as input and Excel file as input, right? So now my requirement is first you guys need to create application server file for the same data, whatever the material data we have used, and create a program to read the application server data and run the BDC programming to create material records. Okay, you can use BDC and you can use BAPI, any method. Okay,
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
that is the assignment. Everyone clear, right, about the requirement?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, create a program using application server files. Data migration program. Create a data migration program using application server file. Okay, not the local file.
Okay, sir.